to credit. I tell everybody, the guy back at Greensville that day, the best way to have good credit is to honor your good name, to do what you say you're going to do. That is the secret to credit. If you become a person who lives your life with respect for other people, that honors your good name, you do the things you say you're going to do, you will end up having credit. Let's start off with a very simple example. Let's say that you're a college kid and you borrow $20 from a friend of yours, or you want to borrow $20. And your friend says, hey, listen, I'd loan it to you if I could, but I've only got a little bit, and I need $20 in a week to pay this one bill that I've got. And you tell him, hey, I'll give you your $20 back before you need it. Come on, help me out. It's really important. Loan me the $20, and I promise you I'm going to pay it back. So your friend says, hey, look, you're my friend. I'm going to help you out because I know it's important to you. And he loans him the $20. Well, guess what? The guy that borrowed the $20 from his friend, he didn't pay him back. And he avoids him for the next 2 or 3 weeks because he doesn't want to face up to him because he lied to him. Well, the guy that lent the $20 and he depended on his friend to give it back to him, he missed the payment. He got a late charge. It caused him a difficulty. So the basic premise here is that if you're a person that doesn't mind inconveniencing other people, then you're going to cause them a lot of problems, and it's going to catch up with you after a while. Because the guy that lent his friend $20, I don't think he'll ever loan him $20 again. Let me give you my favorite story. This is called the lawnmower story. The lawnmower story goes like this. A guy borrows a lawnmower from his next door neighbor. He cuts his grass, and right after he cuts his grass, he does not give the lawnmower back. He doesn't take it back to his neighbor. He leaves it in his backyard. It starts raining about an hour later, and it rains for 3 straight days. He's left the lawnmower in his backyard, uncovered. Water gets in the gas tank, the lines get wet, rust starts in. So after 3 days, the neighbor that lent the guy the lawnmower, he goes and knocks on his door. And he says, hey, where's my lawnmower? And I like to tell this story a couple different ways. The guy's either got a beer in his hand, just to emphasize the guy's just kind of like a laid-back guy here, or maybe he doesn't have a beer. The guy says, where's my lawnmower? And he goes, oh, it's in the backyard. And the guy looks at him and goes, oh, yeah, right. He goes in the backyard and retrieves his lawnmower. So the question that I want to ask you is, do you think the guy that lent that guy his lawnmower will ever loan him anything again? Probably not. 4 years ago, when I told this story to my mother-in-law, she said, you know, that's exactly correct. That's true. It's just like that. She goes, I lent a pruning saw to my neighbor across the street a couple years ago, and he never gave it back. After 30 days, she went across the street to retrieve the pruning saw that she had lent the neighbor. Neighbor opened the door, says, oh, okay. He goes into his garage, comes back to the front door, and he tries to give her a pruning saw that's not the one that she lent him. It's an inferior one. Hers was yellow. She knew it wasn't hers. He tried to give her a brown one that was rusted and falling apart. She doesn't have anything to do with that person. I'm telling you that credit is honoring your good name. And if you end up having bad credit, you can rebuild your credit. It takes time. You need to work through the credit agencies. Let me give you one of my favorite examples about how the credit card trap works. So I ended up with my credit card, and I ended up with all these medical problems, and I've been fighting for survival to keep my house and other things. Luckily, I had very good credit. And my card went up to $34,000 maxed out. My payment, my minimum payment each month was right around $700, 2%. I want you to know, I paid that payment every single month and never missed a payment. I found ways to do it. But of that payment, almost $380 of my payment was interest expense to have used the $34,000 that I had built up. I used it for a lot of things. I mean, a lot of medical bills, education, different things. I mean, I struggled. I fought. Paying almost $400 a month of interest because I used a credit card as a bank and I couldn't pay my balance back because I ended up having medical circumstances where I wasn't working and making much income. I was trapped for a number of years making almost $5,000 a year of interest payments to that bank, and the balance never went down. And what would happen is I'd be at $34,000, I'd pay the minimum payment, then I'd have available credit of about $300, and then I'd have to make a payment on a medical bill. Every time I would go to the oncologist, I'd get 5 bills. The cancer doctor, I'd have x-rays, I'd have prescriptions, I'd have lab work, I'd have whatever. At one time, just a couple years ago, in addition to all of my other household expenses and my first mortgage and my second mortgage and the credit card debt that I had 14 medical bills, hospitals, labs, doctors, etc. And so the secret to maintaining your credit when you can't work through it with making the payments when you're in the situation that I was in is communicate. I want to say that again. Capital letters. Communicate. One more time. Communicate. The very best thing you can do with your credit is make sure you always establish a communication with your creditors and never, and I'm going to repeat this, never ever commit to something when you're trying to work out a payment plan that you can't really fulfill, because it's just going to be short term, and then you're not going to meet your payment, and then it's going to go. Do your very best when you're in credit card debt to communicate and keep your bills in-house before they turn them over to a credit agency bureau. If they don't go to a collection agency, they will not be a bad mark on your credit. So let me just say a few more things about credit, because I speak on credit for hours and hours when I do my classes, and today is just an introduction into credit. I want to tell you that a summary of what I'm trying to tell you is try your very best not to use credit if you don't have to, but use it a little bit and pay it off properly to establish good credit, because when you get good credit, your life will get easier. I'm very proud of my son, Andrew. He lived in a condo, and he got a very good buy on it at one of those sales about 7 or 8 years ago when the market was way down. He had saved a lot of down payment working hard for a number of years. He moved into a condo. He then rents it to cover his mortgage payment, gets a little extra cash out of it. He bought a duplex. He rented the duplex upstairs. He lived in the downstairs. And now he's renting the downstairs, and he's buying a third house. He has good credit. He has managed his affairs beautifully. I'm very, very proud of my son. It takes hard work to stay on top of your credit. Okay, so here's what I want to tell you the worst part about the credit card trap is, and I'm going to walk you through this for a second. It's not the interest that you pay, it's the late fee. The interest is minimal. It's not good, but it's minimal. But I want to give you an example. A lot of credit card companies have a fixed amount, $35 late fee if you don't make your payment on time. So I'm going to give you a very simple example I gave the high school kids last week. Say you're using a credit card, and you're trying to establish your credit, and a credit card has a billing cycle. It's usually a 30-day cycle. And anything you buy during that first 30 days of your cycle when they close your statement, close your cycle at the 30th day, they bill you whatever you charged, and you have 30 days to pay it without any interest. If you choose to not pay the whole thing off, they'll charge interest at the second 30 days on the unpaid balance at that point. So here's my example. The regulatory agencies do not control, they control interest rates very carefully. If it's too high, it's called usurpus, and it's against the law. But where they really get you is on the late fee. It's a fixed amount. And so here's the two examples on the late fee and how it can really, really hurt you. You get a credit card, and your cutoff is the 30th of the month by 8 o'clock at night. If you pay it after 8 o'clock at night, it won't post till the next business day. So here's what happens. It's 6 o'clock, and you need to make a payment on your credit card, and your buddies come over and say, hey, let's run up the street for a minute and, let's go to the store, whatever store you want to make up there. And you go, no, I can't go. I got to do something. You're getting ready to go pay your credit card online. And they go, oh, come on, we'll be back in an hour. Well, your friends are all over you to hurry up and go, and you're not that disciplined, and you figure, well, I got till 8 o'clock. I'll get back by 7. I'll still make my credit card payment. So you've charged something for $25. Your balance on your credit card is $25. You got to make some kind of payment on that $25 before 8 o'clock. So you go off with your friends. You don't get home till 9:30. You forgot all about it. Well, your statement closed and you get a $35 late charge. You're late on making a minimum payment on the $25. They give you a $35 late charge. The best example I can give you on that is a couple years back, my wife had a charge at a department store. People's, I think is what it was. And she did everything properly. She charged, I think it was $28. And she paid it on time. She went in the store and paid it. Well, there was a bookkeeping problem, and they did not post her payment on time, and they gave her a $35 late charge. Well, here's what happened. Actually, the timing went like this. They charged 35-cent interest on the purchase because of the posting. You usually don't get a bill if you don't have a balance, and my wife told me she paid the balance off. So I wasn't looking for that bill. So I didn't open the bill from People's. I just thought it was junk mail. The next month, she owed 35-cent interest on the $28. I didn't know. When I finally opened the bill, I didn't pay the 35 cents. So a month later, we get a bill for 37 cents, the 35 plus interest, and a $35 late charge. We owed People's $35.37. So she called the store and talked to them about it, and they traced it down, and they saw that she should have had a zero balance, and they waived all those extra charges. But if you go along like that, it'll get you in trouble. Here's another example. The high school kids ask me, well, does it cost you anything to have a credit card? They usually waive the fee the first year, but they can charge you like $80 annual charge to have a credit card. Well, what happens there is you don't know you got an $80 charge because you're not looking at it. You're not disciplined to be paying attention. This goes all the way back to my whole program, budgeting, staying on top of your finances, being focused and disciplined, keep out of trouble. So what happens is that $80 charge, and you're not looking for it. The next month, they give you a $35 late charge. The next month, they give you another one, plus interest. You go a couple months down the road, then you get a phone call from the credit people saying, we want to talk to you about your account. This call is being recorded. You get the idea? You got to stay on top of it. You got to be very careful because it's a trap. Here's what I want to tell you more than anything right now. As you start using credit, you have to be very, very careful about credit. You can't use it. Don't buy things